We live in a world of instant gratification, where we want everything now, and we want it big. But let me ask you, what if the most important changes in your life weren't the result of one grand decision or a massive leap forward, but instead came from a series of tiny, seemingly insignificant actions? Imagine this for a moment: a small stream that over years carves its way through rock and creates a grand canyon. The stream didn't begin by breaking the rock in one massive burst of energy. It started with just one drop. Just one drop repeated every day for years made all the difference. And this, my friends, is the secret. Tiny, consistent actions repeated day in and day out can transform your life in ways you might never have imagined. Picture this: you wake up in the morning, and you feel overwhelmed by the vastness of the day ahead. The tasks, the goals, the dreams. Everything seems like a mountain you have to climb. And in that moment, it's easy to get lost in the enormity of it all. We often look at life as a series of enormous challenges, great hurdles that we need to overcome if we're ever going to succeed. And we get caught in the belief that we need to make giant, sweeping changes in our lives in order to see any real progress. But let me ask you, what if the key to success wasn't about making big, overwhelming changes? What if instead of starting with the grand and the monumental, the real path to transformation begins with something small, something simple, something so tiny, in fact, that it feels almost insignificant at first? Let's think about it. We don't need to climb the mountain in one single bound. The journey isn't about conquering it all at once, but about making the decision to take one small step after another. We often underestimate the power of these small steps, these tiny habits, because they don't seem to have the immediate payoff we expect. It's easy to assume that anything small can't possibly make a big difference. We get impatient and want results now, forgetting that the small steps we take today are the building blocks of the future we're striving for. We've all been there. You decide to wake up early every day. You tell yourself, this is it. I'm going to make the most of every morning. But after a few days, when the results aren't immediately visible, it becomes easy to dismiss it. What's the point of waking up early if I don't see any immediate changes? You might think. And so you slip back into your old routine, letting go of that small habit you were trying to form. But the truth is, the real power doesn't come from grand gestures, the ones that make a lot of noise and seem to shout their importance. It comes from the quiet, consistent actions we take over time, the habits that don't demand attention, but quietly shape the person we are becoming. Those small decisions you make daily, though they seem insignificant, are the ones that compound over time to create profound transformation. The reality is, the results of small habits often take time to show up. In fact, sometimes you won't even see the difference for months, or even years. But make no mistake, they are working. When you decide to take those small actions, whether it's reading a book for 10 minutes every morning or exercising for just 15 minutes a day, you're setting a course. You're planting seeds that will grow in ways you can't yet imagine. And those tiny habits, when practiced consistently, are the foundation of the person you want to become. One small action doesn't seem like much on its own, but when you repeat it every day, it builds momentum. Each small success, no matter how tiny, encourages you to keep going, creating a snowball effect that eventually leads to extraordinary change. Think about it this way. Have you ever learned to ride a bike? At first, it seems like a daunting task. You start by balancing, then pedaling, and for a while, it feels like you're going to fall at any moment. But after a few attempts, something remarkable happens. The next time you get on the bike, you find yourself riding a little longer, a little more confidently. It wasn't the first attempt that made you a cyclist, but rather the countless small attempts, each building on the last, that led you to success. This is the power of small habits. The same principle applies to everything in life. Whether it's your career, your health, or your personal growth, the results come from the accumulation of those seemingly trivial actions. You don't build a strong body by doing one intense workout. You build it by showing up every day, by doing the small, consistent actions that contribute to your overall health. You don't become a successful entrepreneur with one lucky idea. You get there by continually learning, improving, and taking small steps toward your goal each and every day. Now, let's focus on a very important part of this process: patience. This is where most people fail. They start small. They try for a few days, and then they give up because they don't see immediate results. They don't realize that true success comes in the quiet moments, in the persistence, in the gradual buildup. It's easy to get distracted by the flashy success stories of others, but they never show you the long road that led to that moment of triumph. What you don't see is the series of tiny actions that compounded over time to create something truly remarkable. And here's the catch. The more consistent you are, the easier it becomes. You don't have to think about it. It becomes automatic. It becomes a part of who you are. Your small daily actions define the person you're becoming, and eventually, they lead you to a place you couldn't have reached through sheer willpower alone. The change is gradual, yes, but once it takes hold, it's unstoppable. So ask yourself, what are the small, simple habits you can begin today that, over time, will create big changes in your life? What's one tiny thing you can do every day that will move you closer to your dreams? Take that first step, no matter how small. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Start now. Because that one tiny action, repeated over and over, is what will eventually transform your life in ways you never imagined. Consider for a moment how many times you've started something with great enthusiasm, only to find that, after a few days or weeks, your commitment begins to fade. Maybe it's a new exercise routine, a diet plan, or a personal goal. The first few days are full of energy, and then, slowly, you start slipping. Why does this happen? Why do we start with such determination only to lose steam? It's because we're trying to jump too far ahead too quickly. We expect too much too soon. And that's where the danger lies. We measure our progress by the immediate results we see or don't see, forgetting that true, lasting change is built from small, consistent actions over time. We live in a world where instant results are expected, but life doesn't work that way. Real transformation isn't an overnight phenomenon. It happens little by little, brick by brick, and it takes patience and commitment to see the bigger picture. When we start something new, it's easy to think that if we're not seeing significant results right away, we're failing. But let me remind you that progress doesn't always show up in big, dramatic ways. Sometimes, progress shows up in the smallest of shifts, small changes in attitude, small improvements in our habits, tiny victories that, when put together, create something far greater than we could have imagined. Think about learning a new skill, like playing the piano. At first, your fingers might stumble over the keys, and the music doesn't come out as you hoped. You might even get frustrated, thinking you'll never get it. But that's the process of growth. It's in the moments of struggle, the seemingly insignificant times when you're practicing a new chord or learning a new note, that you're building something incredible. You might not see your progress right away, but with consistent effort, one day you'll sit at that piano and be amazed at how far you've come. It's not the single practice session that will make you great. It's the daily, consistent effort that leads to mastery. This same principle applies to everything in life. Success, whether it's personal, professional, or financial, doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens when you commit to small, steady actions that accumulate over time. The person who commits to reading one page of a book every day might not feel any different after 1 week, but after a year they've read 365 pages. And those 365 pages, accumulated over time, can completely change their perspective, expand their knowledge, and open up new opportunities. The key here is consistency. Small, positive actions, done consistently over time, are the foundation of success. It's easy to get distracted by the allure of immediate rewards, the quick fixes that promise rapid results. But those quick fixes rarely lead to long-term success. Real success comes from showing up every day, no matter how you feel, and doing the small things that will lead to lasting change. When you commit to the process, even on days when you don't feel like it, you're building something far more valuable than a fleeting moment of success. You're building habits. Habits that will sustain you over the long term. Success is a byproduct of consistent effort, not the result of a single burst of energy. It's the daily habits that lead to extraordinary results. But let's take it even further. The real magic of these small, consistent actions lies in the compound effect. Every tiny habit you build compounds upon the previous one. Think about money. If you invest a small amount regularly, whether it's $5, $10, or $50, the interest compounds over time, and that small investment grows into something substantial. The same principle applies to your personal growth. The small, seemingly insignificant actions you take today will compound and grow into a force that you can't even predict. This is the principle behind some of the most successful people in the world. They didn't get where they are by making big, bold decisions all the time. They got there by making small, intelligent choices every single day. They built their success slowly, one habit at a time, each action reinforcing the next. The difference between the successful and the unsuccessful isn't always talent, intelligence, or luck. It's the ability to commit to the small, steady actions that lead to greatness. Consider the athlete. They don't become champions by running one fast lap or lifting one heavy weight. They become champions by showing up day after day, doing the small exercises that build their strength and stamina. The small, seemingly insignificant practices lead to the big wins. Over time, they build a level of expertise and skill that separates them from the rest. But none of it happens in a single moment. It happens through consistency. So, how can you apply this principle to your life? It starts with acknowledging that small actions matter. It starts with the understanding that success isn't about waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect opportunity. It's about committing to the little things that, when done consistently, create lasting change. Whether it's waking up 10 minutes earlier, taking a walk after dinner, or spending 5 minutes meditating, these small actions compound. They build upon each other and lead to big results. What's important is to focus on the process, not the outcome. Success is a natural byproduct of consistent effort. When you focus on doing the right things every day, the results will come. It may take time, but the impact will be lasting. So start today with one small habit and trust that it will grow into something much bigger than you can imagine. The real power lies not in the magnitude of your actions, but in their consistency and in the belief that each small step is moving you towards something greater. Every day, we make countless decisions about what to do, how to do it, and when to act. Yet many of these decisions are made on autopilot. We don't consciously think about them, they just happen. We wake up, we get dressed, we eat, we go to work, and before we know it, the day is over. We go to bed, and repeat it all over again the next day. It's the cycle of life. But what if I told you that the true secret to success doesn't lie in the big decisions we make, but rather in these small, seemingly insignificant choices? The truth is, the sum of our small, everyday decisions creates the life we experience. We often think that our life is shaped by major turning points, by the big events that seem to define our future. But in reality, it's those tiny, routine decisions that hold the real power. Each decision you make, no matter how small it seems, is a building block. Together, these decisions form the foundation of your life. For example, think about the simple decision to read for just 10 minutes every morning. It doesn't seem like much at first, does it? But over time, those 10 minutes add up. Over the course of a year, that small habit can lead to 60 hours of reading. What could you learn in those 60 hours? What new ideas could you discover? What new perspectives could you gain? Imagine the doors that could open from this one small, daily decision. Now, let's apply this to other areas of life. What if you decided to take a 15-minute walk after dinner every day? It doesn't sound like much, but over time, this small action could have a profound impact on your health. You may not see the changes immediately, but as the days, weeks, and months pass, your body becomes stronger, your energy levels increase, and your overall health improves. It's not the one walk that makes the difference, but the consistent effort over time. The beauty of small decisions is that they are manageable. They don't overwhelm us, and they don't require massive amounts of energy or focus, but they add up in ways that are far greater than we could imagine. In fact, these small decisions are often more powerful than the big ones because they are consistent, repeatable, and sustainable. It's much easier to commit to a 10-minute habit each day than to make a huge change all at once. And the small wins build momentum, creating a snowball effect that leads to bigger changes. When you break down the journey to success, it's easy to get intimidated by the sheer size of the task. We often focus on the end goal, the vision of what we want to achieve, and it can seem so far out of reach. The goal feels too big, too unattainable. But if you shift your focus to the small, daily decisions, you can take that big goal and break it down into manageable pieces. Each small decision becomes a step on the path toward that larger vision, Consider a marathon runner. They don't wake up one day and decide to run 26.2 miles. They start by running small distances, building up over time. They build their stamina, increase their strength, and improve their technique, all through a series of small, daily decisions. They might not feel like they're making a big impact after each run, but each mile, each step, brings them closer to their goal. It's not the one long run that gets them to the finish line. It's the thousands of small steps taken day after day. This principle works in every area of life. Whether you want to build a successful career, improve your relationships, or get in better physical shape, it's not the grand gestures that make the difference. It's the tiny actions repeated over and over that create real, lasting change. The beauty of these small actions is that they don't require a major shift in your life. They don't demand huge sacrifices, but they do require consistency, and that's what sets the successful apart from the unsuccessful. Think about someone who is trying to lose weight. They don't lose 20 pounds by making one massive change. They lose weight by making small decisions. Decisions to eat healthier, to exercise, to get enough sleep. Each decision may not seem like much on its own, but taken together, these small actions add up. And over time, they lead to the transformation they desire. It's not the big, dramatic moments that lead to change. It's the small decisions that you make day in and day out. The power of small decisions lies in their ability to shape your future. Every choice you make, no matter how small, is steering you in a particular direction. You may not see the impact immediately, but over time, the results will become clear. And when you look back, you'll see that it was those small, consistent decisions that made all the difference. The key to success is not about waiting for a big breakthrough. It's about understanding that each small decision you make is shaping your future. Each tiny action is leading you closer to your goal, even if you can't see it yet. So, take a moment today to think about the small decisions you can make that will move you closer to your dreams. Whether it's reading for 10 minutes, walking for 15 minutes, or simply deciding to be more mindful of your actions, these small decisions are the ones that will create the life you've always wanted. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that success comes from big, dramatic actions. But the truth is, it's the small, consistent decisions that make all the difference. Each day is filled with opportunities to make small changes, and it's up to you to take advantage of them. Don't underestimate the power of these tiny habits. They may seem insignificant now, but over time, they will lead you to places you never thought possible. Take a moment to think about your daily routine. How often do you find yourself doing things on autopilot? You get up, you go through your tasks, and before you know it, the day is over. It's easy to slip into a pattern, following the same familiar steps without giving much thought to the actions you're taking. But here's a question that can change everything. What if those everyday routines, those automatic decisions, could be the very thing that shapes your future success? The secret to lasting change doesn't come from trying to make a single big move. It comes from making small, intentional decisions that lead to the development of powerful habits. These habits over time shape who we are, what we achieve, and how we live. Yet, we often underestimate the power of our daily habits, thinking that big changes can only be achieved through major efforts. What we fail to recognize is that the small, repetitive actions we take every day can, over time, yield far greater results than any single leap forward. Now, let's talk about the power of consistency. Every great accomplishment, every success story, is built on the foundation of daily habits. Whether it's an athlete preparing for a competition, a writer working on their manuscript, or an entrepreneur building a business, none of them achieve success through sporadic bursts of effort. They achieve success through small, consistent actions that compound over time. If you look at the lives of the world's most successful individuals, you'll notice something interesting. Their success isn't due to one huge breakthrough moment. Instead, it's the result of their commitment to small, seemingly insignificant actions performed consistently over time. Whether they wake up early every day, work on their craft for a set amount of time, or take small steps toward their goals, these habits build momentum. The power lies not in the singular action but in the repetition, the constant doing of small things that gradually move them forward. It's easy to look at someone who is successful and think, they must have been born with something special. But what you don't see is the daily grind, the commitment to the small habits that have fueled their journey. The path to greatness isn't about waiting for the perfect moment. It's about showing up every single day and doing the work, no matter how small it may seem in the moment. Success is not about taking huge risks or making dramatic decisions. It's about doing the little things right consistently, even when no one is watching. The small habits we form shape the way we think and behave. Over time, they become a part of who we are. They shape our identity. Think about someone who has developed the habit of exercising every day. It might have started with just 10 or 15 minutes a day, but over time, those small increments of time add up. What starts as a small habit becomes a lifestyle, and that lifestyle shapes the person they become. They no longer see themselves as someone who struggles to stay fit. They see themselves as an active person, someone who prioritizes their health and well-being. This same concept applies to all areas of life. Imagine someone who has developed the habit of reading just 10 pages of a book every day. At first, it doesn't seem like much. After all, 10 pages is a tiny fraction of a book. But over the course of a year, that 10 pages a day adds up to nearly 350 pages, more than most people read in an entire year. That small habit transforms their knowledge, expands their perspective, and opens up new opportunities. The key isn't the size of the action, it's the consistency with which it's done. But consistency doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean that every day will be the same, or that there won't be times when you falter. The key is to keep going, even when things get tough, even when the results aren't immediately visible. Progress isn't linear. Some days will feel like setbacks, but it's in those moments that the true value of consistency shines through. It's easy to show up when things are going well, but the real power lies in continuing to show up when things aren't going your way. It's those moments, those days when you feel like giving up, that shape your character and build the foundation for your success. Consistency builds momentum. The more you repeat an action, the easier it becomes. Eventually, what once felt like a challenge becomes second nature. That's the magic of small habits. They compound and create a snowball effect. Each small action you take creates momentum, which propels you toward bigger actions and bigger results. You start to see improvements in ways you never imagined. You may not see the change immediately, but it's happening slowly but surely. And when you look back, you'll realize that the small, everyday actions were the things that made the biggest impact. The key to mastering any area of life is to focus on what you can control today. It's easy to get distracted by the long-term goals, the big dreams. But the real power lies in the here and now. What can you do today that will move you closer to your goals? What small habit can you build today that, over time, will make a world of difference? It doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be consistent. So, start today. Commit to that small habit, that one action that will move you forward. And then do it again tomorrow. And the next day. Eventually, you'll look back and realize that the small, simple things you did each day were the keys to your success. They were the building blocks that helped you achieve what once seemed impossible. The power of consistency is in its simplicity. It's not about doing something extraordinary. It's about doing something every day that moves you closer to where you want to be. Every day, we are presented with opportunities to make choices, to take actions, and to move closer to the life we want. Yet, most of the time, we don't even realize the power of those choices. We think of success as something that happens in big, dramatic moments, the career breakthrough, the winning deal, the perfect opportunity. We wait for the big moments to come along and change everything. But in reality, it's the small, consistent decisions we make every single day that ultimately determine the trajectory of our lives. Think about the habits we form. Whether we realize it or not, we are always in the process of creating habits. And what do habits do? They shape our actions, our thoughts, our attitudes, and ultimately, the results we experience. The power of habits lies not in their immediate impact, but in their compounding effect over time. It's the little things we do, repeated day in and day out, that slowly begin to shape the course of our lives. Now, think about a decision as simple as deciding to start your day with a positive affirmation. It might seem trivial. After all, how much of a difference can saying something positive about your day really make? But here's the thing. When you start each day by consciously choosing positivity, You're setting the tone for everything that follows. That small choice creates a ripple effect. It influences the way you react to challenges, the way you interact with others, and even the way you see the world. Over time, this habit becomes ingrained. It becomes the lens through which you view your life. And the more you nurture this habit, the more your life starts to reflect the positivity you've chosen to cultivate. This is the power of small actions. You see, we often look for dramatic change, expecting that one big decision will somehow alter the course of our lives. But the truth is, the major changes come from the steady accumulation of small daily actions. Just as a tiny drop of water can, over time, carve a deep channel into rock, your small, positive actions build momentum and lead to profound transformation. One of the greatest myths about success is that it happens suddenly, that success is a result of a single, extraordinary event. In truth, success is a process. It's a culmination of the small decisions you make, the habits you form, and the actions you take consistently. The most successful people aren't the ones who take huge leaps. They are the ones who commit to small steps every day. And what's truly remarkable is that these small actions often seem insignificant in the moment. You may not notice immediate results, but they're there. They are building something strong and lasting. Consider the person who decides to improve their health by taking a 10-minute walk each day. At first, it doesn't seem like much. It's easy to dismiss it as too small to matter. But the magic lies in the consistency. That 10-minute walk becomes a daily habit, and over time it leads to increased energy, improved health, and even a greater sense of well-being. What began as a simple, small action becomes a lifestyle. The small decision to move your body for just a few minutes each day accumulates into something powerful. The same principle applies to learning. It's easy to think that we need to dedicate hours upon hours to gaining new knowledge or improving our skills. But consider someone who commits to learning just 15 minutes a day. Whether it's reading, listening to a podcast, or watching a video. That may not seem like much at first, but over the course of a year, those 15 minutes add up. And when you look back after 365 days, you'll find that you've invested over 90 hours in learning. Imagine what you could accomplish in that time. Imagine the new skills you could develop, the new perspectives you could gain. That small habit of investing just 15 minutes a day becomes a powerful tool for growth. It's easy to underestimate the impact of these small decisions, but let me remind you, greatness is often built on the foundation of tiny, seemingly insignificant actions. In fact, one of the reasons people fail to reach their goals is because they don't recognize the importance of small habits. They start big, hoping for quick results, but when the big results don't come right away, they give up. They don't realize that the key to success lies in showing up every day, making small improvements, and trusting that, over time, the compound effect will work in their favor. The reality is, if you want to make a significant change in your life, it doesn't require a huge, dramatic action. It requires consistency. It requires making small, intentional decisions that you repeat every day, no matter how trivial they may seem. And here's the real beauty of it: once you start, it gets easier. It becomes a part of who you are. The small habit of waking up 10 minutes earlier, the small decision to be more mindful, the small step toward learning something new, it all becomes ingrained in your routine. Over time, these small actions become second nature, and the results are far greater than you ever could have imagined. So, the question is, what small habit can you start today? What tiny change can you make in your routine that will have a profound impact over time? Don't wait for a big moment to change your life. The truth is, you don't need a huge breakthrough. What you need is a commitment to small, daily actions that will move you toward your goals. The results will come just as surely as the sunrise. But the key is to start today. The power of change lies in the small actions you take now, which will compound into extraordinary results over time. Every one of us has the ability to achieve something remarkable. The problem is that too often, we look for the shortcuts, the instant path to success, the magic formula that will change everything in a single leap. But let's face the truth. Success doesn't come that easily. The reality is, it's the consistent, small steps taken every day that pave the way to achieving extraordinary things. There's a simple truth that many people overlook: the small, everyday choices you make are the seeds that grow into the life you desire. When you wake up in the morning, You're presented with a blank slate. You can choose how to approach the day, how to spend your time, and what kind of person you want to be. And most importantly, you get to decide what small habit, what tiny action you will take today that will compound into something much larger over time. The key to success lies in understanding that it's not the big events that make the difference. It's not the dramatic gestures or the one-time accomplishments. It's the consistent decisions, the tiny habits that you commit to every single day. Consider how we often talk about goals. We set them, we dream about them, but somehow we lose track of the path to achieving them. The reason is simple: we focus on the goal itself, and we forget that it's the small, consistent actions taken over time that make those big goals possible. Take a moment to think about something you've wanted to achieve for a long time. Whether it's building a successful career, improving your health, or becoming a better person, chances are you've probably thought about it many times, maybe even mapped out a plan to get there. But then, day after day, you get sidetracked, distracted, or discouraged because the journey feels too long, too difficult, or too uncertain. The reason many people fail to reach their goals is because they overlook the power of daily habits. We often get so caught up in the grand vision, in the destination, that we forget about the process, the little everyday actions that will lead us there. It's the daily decisions we make that shape our future. If you want to build a successful business, it doesn't happen overnight. It happens with small, consistent actions. It's the phone calls, the emails, the little tasks that you do each day that build the foundation for your success. You won't build an empire with one grand action, but if you keep working at it every day, those small efforts will compound into something much bigger. Similarly, if you want to improve your health, it won't happen by going to the gym for one intense workout. It happens through the small actions, repeated every day. It's the decision to eat healthier, to move your body, to get enough sleep. You don't see the results of these actions immediately, but if you stick with them over time, they lead to significant improvements. The power lies in the consistency of your actions. It's about making the right choices every day and sticking with them, even when you don't see immediate results. When you understand the importance of small actions, you begin to see them in a different light. You realize that every moment, every decision, is an opportunity to move closer to the person you want to become. The key is to focus on the small things that can be done today. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment or the perfect plan. All you need is the willingness to take that first step and then the discipline to keep going, even when the progress feels slow. This is where the real power of success lies, in the daily commitment to small, incremental steps. Imagine if you decided to learn something new every day, just a little bit at a time. You might read for 10 minutes, listen to a podcast, or watch a video. It doesn't seem like much, but over time, those small actions will lead to tremendous growth. If you commit to this every day in a year, you will have invested hundreds of hours into expanding your knowledge. It's the same with any skill you want to develop. Whether it's writing, playing an instrument, or learning a new language, it's not about doing it all at once. It's about making a habit of doing it every day, even when the results are not immediately apparent. What holds many people back is the idea that they must do everything perfectly from the start. They believe that to succeed, they need to make big, bold moves. But the truth is, perfection isn't required. It's the consistency, the commitment to small steps that leads to growth. When you understand this, you stop waiting for the perfect moment to take action. You begin to realize that every small step you take today is laying the groundwork for your success tomorrow. The beauty of small actions is that they are sustainable. They don't require a massive overhaul of your life. They don't require huge sacrifices. But when you take these small steps consistently, over time, they create big change. The key to success lies in understanding this principle: the little things matter. The small, everyday decisions you make add up to something far greater than you can imagine. It's the compounding effect of your daily actions that brings lasting success. So, what small action can you take today that will move you closer to your goals? What tiny habit can you form that, over time, will make all the difference? The beauty of this process is that it doesn't require a giant leap. It requires a willingness to take that first step and the discipline to keep going day after day. because it's the small, consistent actions that will ultimately create the life you desire. It's time to start today. Take that first step, no matter how small, and trust that the compounding effect of your actions will lead to something extraordinary. As we've explored, the path to success isn't a result of one grand, dramatic gesture. It's the accumulation of small, consistent habits that, when practiced daily, build the foundation for extraordinary change. The truth is, every choice we make, no matter how small, shapes the direction of our lives. The power to transform your future lies not in waiting for a breakthrough, but in committing to those tiny actions that, over time, compound into something far greater than you could have ever imagined. It's easy to get caught up in the allure of instant results, to chase the quick fixes that promise rapid change. But real success is not about shortcuts. It's about patience, consistency, and persistence. It's about showing up every day, taking that one small step, and trusting that these actions will eventually lead you to where you want to go. The key is to start today with that small habit, that tiny decision that can change the course of your life. Remember, it's not the big, dramatic changes that matter most. It's the small things you do, day in and day out, that build your success. Every small action is a step forward, and every day is an opportunity to make a choice that brings you closer to your goals. So, choose wisely, stay consistent, and trust in the power of those tiny habits to transform your life in ways you may not yet see. The life you dream of is already within your reach. All it takes is the courage to start, one small habit at a time.